You always think your life changes in a single moment. A flash. For me, it was slower. It was a 72-hour nightmare that started with my sister's wedding. I can still picture the dress. It was this pale lilac color, hanging in my closet, just waiting. I even had my speech written out on a little note card, tucked right inside the clutch that matched my shoes. I'd helped her plan every single detail. I was supposed to be standing right there, next to her. But instead, while her bridesmaids were zipping up their dresses, my hands were being covered in ink for fingerprints. While she was walking down that aisle to start her life, I was sitting on a cold metal bench in a police station, just trying to figure out how mine had been blown to pieces. It all started with a phone call, 3 days before the wedding. It was Ava, my sister. And when I picked up, all I heard was this horrible gasping sound. You know, that kind of crying, the kind that tells you something is really, really wrong. Her voice was just a whisper. "Can you come over? Please, I messed up." I didn't even think to grab a coat. I ran. Her door was unlocked, and I found her on the kitchen floor, just curled up in a ball on the cold tiles. Her face was this awful mess of smeared mascara, and her phone, it was just in pieces next to the trash can. Looked like she'd thrown it against the wall. She couldn't even look at me. She just pointed, a shaky finger pointing at his laptop on the counter. Ethan's laptop. Her Ethan. And my first thought, it wasn't even anger. It was just this deep, hollow ache for her. I got down on the floor with her and I just held her. She whispered, "Please, just, you look, I can't look at it again." God, I knew I shouldn't have touched it, but I did. For her, right? I walked over to that laptop, opened it up, and my stomach just dropped to the floor. It was all there. Screenshots, hotel receipts, just everything. Things you can't unsee. I felt physically sick. She begged me to call him. I mean, begged me. So I did. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial the number. I told him I saw everything. And I expected, I don't know, yelling, begging, something. But his voice, it was so calm, almost bored. He just said, "You have no idea what you're talking about." And then, click, he hung up. The dial tone just screamed in the silence of that apartment. I went home, but I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling all night. And then, bam, 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 this loud, heavy pounding on my door. It wasn't a knock. It was violent. I looked at my clock, 6:12 in the morning. I opened the door and there were 2 police officers standing there. They asked me to step out into the hall. And then they said it. Felony fraud, identity theft. And I actually laughed, this short, sharp, like, "What?" kind of laugh. This has to be a joke, some kind of horrible, terrible joke. That laugh just died in my throat when they started listing things off. Ethan's money was missing, thousands of dollars, wired to a new bank account, an account opened in my name. They said the transfers were traced to the IP address from my apartment. They had my digital signature, and then they showed me a photo. Grainy ATM footage. A woman in a hat, her face covered, but she had my build, my height. And in the background, that was my car. That was my car. It literally felt like all the air was being sucked out of the hallway. I couldn't breathe. My brain was just screaming, "Wake up, wake up, this is a nightmare." But my body knew it was real. And then my neighbor, she opened her door and just stared. She just stood there and stared as they clicked the cold metal of the handcuffs around my wrists. At the station, they gave me one phone call. And I didn't call a lawyer. I called Ava. I just had this stupid, desperate hope that she could fix this, that this was all some insane misunderstanding. But it went straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. The one person I needed. And she just wouldn't pick up. Hours went by. I'm sitting in this holding cell, and it smells like bleach and just despair. A guard let me look at my phone for a minute, and there it was. On Instagram, a story from Ava. It was a picture of her and Nathan clinking champagne glasses at the rehearsal dinner. And the caption, "Hard week, but tomorrow I marry my best friend." Hard week? Hard week? I just stared at my phone screen, at her smiling face. Her hard week was, what? A fight with her fiancé? My hard week was being arrested for multiple felonies. It just didn't compute. Like these two realities couldn't possibly exist at the same time. My lawyer got me out on bond the next morning. The wedding? It was in 4 hours. I didn't go home. I didn't even shower. I just got in my car and drove straight to the venue. My mind was just static. I just knew one thing. I had to see her. I had to look her in the eye and ask her what was happening. I found the bridal suite. You could hear the laughter from down the hall. You could smell the hairspray. And then I walked in and she saw me. The whole room just went silent. And she froze. But the look in her eyes, it wasn't shock. It wasn't relief that I was okay. It was just nothing. It was cold. That look, it chilled me more than the handcuffs did. I asked her, "Why didn't you answer my calls?" She just calmly walked over, shut the door to the suite, and looked right at me. And her voice was perfectly even when she said it. "You weren't supposed to get arrested until tomorrow." Everything inside of me just stopped. My heart, my breath, everything just stopped. And then she told me everything, so calmly, like she was talking about the weather. Ethan wasn't cheating. They'd made the whole thing up, planted all of it on his laptop. The fight, her crying on the kitchen floor, it was all an act. She said it was just supposed to scare you, make things messy for a day. It wasn't supposed to ruin the wedding. And then she told me why. This clause, in our grandmother's trust, I had totally forgotten about it. It said that if either of us was ever charged with a felony, the other sister would inherit everything. She just needed me disqualified. That's the word she used, disqualified. So what was I worth? $43 million. That was the number. That was the price she put on me. But here's the kicker, the part she didn't see coming. Her perfect fiancé, Ethan, her partner in all this, yeah, he was playing his own game. He helped her set me up, sure, but he secretly moved all that stolen money through a bunch of shell accounts he'd opened in her name. So yeah, the wedding never happened. 2 days later, federal agents showed up for them. They thought they were just playing some game with family money, but what they'd actually done was federal wire fraud. I sat in the back of the courtroom, watched them drop all the charges against me, and then I watched them turn on each other, viciously. Just like animals. It didn't take long. Ethan cut a deal within a month, threw Ava right under the bus to save his own skin. So much for their perfect partnership. And the trust, the whole reason for all this, it's frozen. Tied up in so much legal red tape, it'll probably never see the light of day. They burn their whole world to the ground. For nothing. Absolutely nothing. People ask me all the time if I hate her. And honestly, sometimes I think it would be easier if I did. But the truth is, all of it, the money, the arrest, the betrayal, none of that is what hurts the most. It's just the simple fact that I don't have a sister anymore. And that's a loss that $43 million can't even begin to touch.